everybody, Mandobug here with the Easy as 1, 2, 3 cat. Today I am going to be showing you how to do the single crochet stitch. I'm going to go over what the pattern looks like, how to read it, what the chart looks like, and then we'll start crocheting. So let's get started. So real quickly, let's go over the pattern. You can print this pattern out online from Ravelry under the Easy as 1, 2, 3 Cowl pattern page. So let's go down to designer notes. This was just my way to explain how the cowl was constructed. It's worked flat back and forth in rows, and it will be seamed together at the end. Then I also have a note in here about how to keep your edges straight. Don't count the chain 1 or chain 2s at the beginning of a row as a stitch, but count the turning chain 3 as a stitch. We'll go into more detail about that later. We will go over in the tutorial how to work in the back bump of your chain, and then right here is where you'll see the actual pattern. So using color A, chain 25, and then for rows 1 through 44 we will be doing a chain 1 turn and a single crochet in each stitch across. You'll see the abbreviation chart for the instructions. So up there, I said chain, but it just says CH. A lot of crochet patterns are abbreviated like this to save space. And then if you go down further in the pattern, you will also see the chart. So I have some chart notes in here just to kind of explain how to read it. It is worked flat, where the right side is in black and read from right to left, and the wrong side is in gray, read from left to right. Here's our symbol chart, and in this first chart we only have the chain stitch and the single crochet stitch. So at the very bottom you'll see our 25 chains, and then at the top of the first row on the right side row you'll see that chain 1 turn and then our single crochets in each chain across, and then we come up here, chain 1 turn, single crochet in each stitch across. Now on these charts I didn't do specific number of rows to complete, but up in the written pattern it will tell you rows 1 through 44, so you'll just follow the chart for 44 rows. So now that we've gone over the basics of the pattern written and charted, let's get into the tutorial. So to start the cowl, you're going to need your color A, your crochet hook, and a locking stitch marker. I have the Addie Love stitch markers that are these cute little hearts. All that's necessary is you need a lockable stitch marker. The pattern is going to start with a chain 25. So to use the beginning chain method that I do, I pull up a loop and catch it, and I do a chain. But this chain does not count as the first chain. This is just to lock the yarn to keep it from unraveling. So this will be my first chain. So chain 1, 2, 3, 4, until I have 25. Now I have 25 stitches on my chain, and I'm ready for the next part of the pattern. We need to do our turning chain. Now with crochet, you have stitches that have a little bit of height to them. So when you're working flat like this and you are turning back and forth working in rows, you need to build height at the beginning of your row. So in this case we're going to chain 1 more stitch, but we won't be working into it. So we have 25 and we're going to chain 1 more. So you see on the front chain of the chain stitch there are 2 loops, and on the back there is just 1. We're going to be working into that back loop. So we just did our turning chain, so we will not be working into that stitch. When we turn, we'll be working into the back of the next stitch. So you're going to insert your hook into that loop. You're going to put your hook under the yarn, turn your hook to catch it, and pull it through that loop that you inserted into. It's the back of your chain. And you pull up this loop. We now have 2 loops on the hook. We're going to put our hook under the yarn, turn our hook and catch it. This is considered a yarn over. So when you read instructions on how to do stitches, they'll tell you yarn over, and that's what we're doing here, yarning over and pulling through 2 loops that are on the hook. And now we have 1 again, and we've completed our first single crochet. So looking back at our chains down here, we're going to be working into the next chain stitch, because we're looking at the back of our chains here. Remember, this is the front with the 2. This is the back with the single bumps. So we're going to insert our hook into that next bump, yarn over, which is going under the yarn, turning our hook and catching it, and pulling up a loop. We have 2 loops on the hook again. We yarn over, pull through 2, and that completes another single crochet. And so we're going to continue doing that for the rest of the chains. And by the end of the row, we'll have 25 single crochets. Now when we get to the end of the row, you see there's just a couple chains left. So I'm going to show you what it looks like to work into the last 2 chains. I have just the 1 left here. I'm working into the last back bump. So now I have 25 single crochets. So if you haven't made it to the end of your row yet, go ahead and pause and I'll meet you back here. If you have, go ahead and count and make sure you got 25 single crochet on your chain. If you find that you are short a stitch or have an extra stitch, you may need to start over, paying particular attention to where you insert your hook. Feel free to start this video over from the beginning until you feel that you got it down. Now when you look at the structure of the single crochet, so you can read your stitches, because this is very important for continuing to work, because I showed you how to work into the chains, but now we need to learn how to work into the single crochet stitches. So this is our base stitch here, and these 2 loops on the top are what you want to work into. So they look much like the top of the chain stitch did, which is down here. And that's why we worked into the bottom loop, is it gives you this nice finished edge on the bottom, which matches the finished edge on the top. We got to the end of our row, we should have 25 single crochet, and we're ready to start row 2. What you need to do is do your turning chain. So you're going to chain 1, and you're going to turn your work the other direction. Now, this is considered the wrong side. This is the right side, and this is the wrong side. So when you're working flat, you have a right side and a wrong side, which will tell you which is the front and which is the back. So we have our chain stitch here, and we will not be working into that. We will be working into the single crochet. So with our chain stitch being right here snug underneath our hook, we're going to be going into the 2 loops of the single crochet before us, which is right here. Right into that first single crochet, and we're going to be doing a single crochet into it. And then going into the next one. So you can kind of see there's a hole right here, and it's the 2 loops. This is considered, let me move my yarn out of the way. This is considered the front loop here and the back loop behind it. And you're going to be going through both and creating a single crochet. The most difficult part of learning to crochet is figuring out where to place your next stitch, because you're learning how to read your stitches. So you can see you have a single crochet in this space and then the space next to it. If it ever looks like you have 2 stitches coming out of the same space, you have worked into the wrong space and you need to undo your stitch. All you do to undo your stitch is pull it out, and you can reinsert your hook and redo your stitch. At this moment, I'd like you to take your removable stitch marker and insert it into the first single crochet of this row. This is going to help you mark the beginning of the row, which will become useful for us later. So you see how I got both loops. And I'm going to go ahead and lock it so it doesn't come undone, because we'll be coming back to that later. So you're going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next single crochets across the rest of the row. And you should have 25 single crochet like you did for the first row. Now, when you're nearing the end of the row, it can be difficult reading where do I stop. So I'm going to show you what it should look like. So right now I have 2 more single crochet to work. There's one right here. You can see the 2 loops. And there's one more, and you can see the 2 loops that I need to catch sitting right there. Now, a great way to double check your work is to count and to make sure that you have 25 single crochet across. And the way you count those is again by counting. You can either count by the 2 loops that you see on top, or if you kind of see the V stitch, the V looking stitch that the single crochet makes, that is how you can count as well. And we have our locking stitch marker in the first stitch of this row. And that will help you as well to know where to start counting. So I just wanted to go ahead and show you what we're going to be using this marker for. It's just to help you read your stitches and keep the number of stitches in your row correct. So for row 3, it's the same thing that we just did for row 2. You're going to chain 1, you're going to turn your work, and you're going to be working into this stitch again because we chained 1 to create height, and this is the stitch that we chained 1 on top of. So that's the one to work into. So we do our single crochet into the next stitch, into the next stitch, and we continue working like that until we get to the end of the row. Now, when you get to the end of the row, you don't have to guess which stitch is the last one because it's the one with your stitch marker in it. So I have 2 stitches left, this one and the one with the stitch marker. So I remove the stitch marker and I know that I only have 1 more stitch to work into. Starting row 4, you would chain 1, turn your work, make your first single crochet, and then put your stitch marker in that stitch because that's going to be the first stitch of this row is going to be where the last stitch of the next row goes. So you're going to continue doing your chain 1 turn and 25 single crochet for 44 rows. After you've completed 44 rows, this is about how much single crochet you will have done, and it will be time to move on to half double crochet in color B. So make sure you do your 44 rows of single crochet in color A, and I will meet you in the next video.